Howdy everybody, this is Pragati Arumugam Uday Kumar and I'll discuss Milestone 2 for the course Advanced Data Management. These are the tables of contents for today's presentation and I'll get started by discussing MariaDB triggers. Triggers are nothing but a set of stored procedures that will run automatically either before or after an DML command has been executed, such as insert, update, or delete. Triggers enforce business rules and preserve data integrity without having to perform any extra code in application or service layer. In context of Ethermart, Ethermart is a multi-channel model, and thus it will receive its data from various sources, and it will not be synchronous in similar structure. Thus, we have to utilize triggers to validate the data before any of the DML commands has been performed. And additionally, we can use triggers to perform logging any key changes that is happening in the database. In this project, I have implemented three triggers in customers, products, and orders table. In the first example, I'm creating trigger on customers table before insertion happens to validate all the data. So if you see, I am validating if the email is in the correct regex form, which is it has to contain at and dot. And if it doesn't, I'm throwing an error stating invalid email. And also I'm checking if the registration date is not in the future. If it is in the future, I'm throwing an error stating it is invalid date. So to validate these triggers, I'll perform these insert operations to check if the trigger is working fine. So first, as you can see, I'm inside my MariaDB terminal and inside the Ethermart database, and I am performing insert operation with correct data, which email is in the correct format and it is current date. So the data is inserted successfully and one row is affected. Now I'll perform invalid insert operation. Over here, the email is not in the valid form. So if I execute this code, you can see my email doesn't have at in it, so it is an invalid form. So it is throwing an error as expected, stating invalid email format. And now the second invalid scenario is future date. So I'll I'll execute this command. And yeah, if you see here, the date is in the future. So date is current date plus 1 day, which is tomorrow's date. So it is in the future and it throws an invalid registration date and cannot be in future error. So this is for the customers table, and for logging, I have performed logging in products and orders table. To perform this, I am creating a new audit table which will store all the log related attributes. And in the products table, I'm logging if there is any update operation happening in the products table. So you can see after update on products, I'm comparing the old price and new price. So if it is not equal, if there is any difference in the price, I'm performing an insert operation into the audit log table. And for the orders table logging, I'm creating a log corresponding to every new orders that is created. So after insert on orders, so after every new insert, I am performing an insert on audit log table containing the details about the order such as customer ID, product order ID, date, and total amount. So now continuing with the presentation, NoSQL. What is NoSQL? NoSQL is a type of database designed to handle large volumes of structured, semi-structured or unstructured data that is rapidly evolving. The main advantages are stated below. First is horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling, we will increase the system's capacity by adding more machines or nodes rather than upgrading a single user. In flexibility and schema definition, this allows data to be stored without a fixed structure, enabling easy handling of data. Unlike RDBMS, we don't have to maintain a fixed set of attributes here. The third is fault tolerance. Since NoSQL supports horizontal scaling, there are multiple nodes containing updated data simultaneously, and thus even if one node fails, other available nodes can be used as backups, ensuring availability to the customers. And the fourth is high performance. Since all the three combined together will make the system perform better, the customer will get high performance experience. Uh, there are multiple ways to perform NoSQL. Key value and document store are two such ways to perform it. And in key value store, the data is stored as simple key value pairs. So the user will send in the key to retrieve its corresponding value, ensuring high performance capability. And it is like it is stored, the data is stored as in a dictionary or hash map. So this is used in extremely fast lookup and update scenario. And the best use case for key value stores is implementing session data, caching, and quick retrieval. The second use case is document stores. In document stores, the data stored as JSON documents or XML documents. So the data stored as documents itself rather than in the table representation. And thus this allows flexible schema structure, and it also allows supports nested attributes. So we can have a child parent attribute and child attributes corresponding to it. And the implementation is very flexible, and the use case for this is in semi-structured and evolving data sets. So, in NoSQL motivations in Ethermart database, there are three use cases that I encountered. The first is customer preference. Sarah Shen pointed out that storing preference and retrieving them quickly will enable real-time personalization. To perform this effectively, we can use key value store. So, to store preferences and implement personalization, we will use cookies and session variables, which will need high-speed read or write capability. And thus, this needs to be scaled with user traffic also. So, key value acts as a simple yet effective model that maps customer IDs directly to preferences. The second use case is customer reviews. Maria pointed out that marketing has to analyze customer reviews of newly launched product Quantum Echo. Parsing all text from relational table is complex since it is unstructured. Thus, we can utilize document store since it provides schema flexibility for semi-structured or unstructured data. And we can store hierarchical data also, which means we can store the review text plus its metadata. And document store also supports dynamic attributes, which means we can dynamically store attributes that are really helpful for sentiment analysis of any of the given text reviews. And also we can create nested attributes and support text indexing and querying fastly. The third use case is product catalog. Sarah Shen also pointed out that the newly launched digital services have completely different set of attributes than old physical gadgets. Thus, one common RDBMS schema to fit in such diverse data is inefficient and hard. And again, we can use document store here to resolve this by handling variable attributes without schema changes, which in turn allows us to have flexible and hierarchical representation of product details. Cap theorem. In distributed systems, we can only guarantee two of the three following characteristics, such as consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. Consistency is nothing but every user sees the same most recent data at the same time. Availability is the system always responds to request even if some nodes fail. And partition tolerance basically means the system keeps working correctly even if network connection fails. And in our case, in Ethermart use case, the trade-off between these two depends upon the scenario. For example, in orders or payments page, which deals with money, we have to favor consistency and partition tolerance more than availability because the price value should be consistent across the nodes. And in case of reviews or recommendation, here we can favor availability and partition tolerance more than consistency because it is better to display some data, some products to the customer rather than displaying nothing. Data partitioning. So data partitioning is basically splitting a large table into smaller physical partition, but still keeping the logical integrity of the table as one. And data partitioning is highly useful in improving efficiency, but by letting queries scan only the relevant part of the table instead of scanning the entire data set. And in the context of Ethermart, database contains multiple millions of records, and partitioning ensures faster access and scalability. Partitioning also organizes data very efficiently so that it is really useful during retrieval of the data. And I have implemented two partitioning in two tables, customers and orders. And to go through the code of it, I have implemented partitioning in customers table based on the column state. So I am splitting the data set into regions, splitting three partitions based on West region, East region, and all the other regions. And this region is based on the state column over here. So the difficulty I faced here was I initially had foreign keys in all the tables. And basically when we are creating a partition, we have to update the primary key including the column which we are using for partitioning also. So my primary key is now customer ID and state. So when this created errors in the forthcoming tables which used this primary key as foreign key. So I had to remove all the foreign keys and then re-implement my schema again. So this is for customers table. So I'll validate my partitioning now. partitioning of the customer table. So I am querying all the partitions in the customer table. So this query will give me the list of partition, the name of the partition, the number of rows in each partition. So you can see P West, P East, and P Other here. Now I will try to insert this data into my table, and then again, yeah. So I have successfully inserted these 4 rows. So I will again execute the select partition command so that the metadata of the table should be updated containing the new rows also. So if you see here, when I execute this, initially there were 17 rows and 10 rows in East and others. But here you can see there's 3 rows, 18 rows, and 12 rows. So basically, these 4 rows has been updated in the corresponding partitions. And also I have implemented partitioning in orders table also based on the column order date. So I'm segregating the data based on the year in which the order has been placed. So this will also improve the efficiency of the database schema. Now again, coming back to the presentation. Moving ahead, MariaDB column store. So what is MariaDB column store? Column store is a type of NoSQL database which stores data in data organized by columns instead of rows. For example, if you look at this picture, both row-oriented and column-oriented allocation of the same table is depicted. In row-oriented allocation, a single sequence of data in row-oriented allocation, the data is stored in a single sequence consecutive memory based on the rows data. So in a single vertical, all the rows data will be present. But in columnar data, every column is stored in a single vertical. And for example, if I'm executing this select sum of salary command, in the row oriented format, this will require 4 hits because there are 4 rows in the table, and in order to perform the sum of salary, it has to go through each and every row and retrieve the salary and then calculate the sum. But in the column format, it is every column is stored in a single vertical. So now I only have to go through the salary column, which is the 4th column, and I will retrieve all the data in that column, and by just 1 hit I am performing this sum here. So this is called column store, and thus this column store will be optimum for performing analytics such as aggregations and filtering more specific columns. And the high competency and reduced input output means the database saves space by storing repeated values in a smaller compressed form. So these are the advantages of column store. In Ethermart use case, Alan Kim mentioned that Ethermart database improve performance and adaptability. And if we have to explore options to perform massive analytical workloads to integrate these diverse data effectively, since they are expanding product lines, user base, and sales channel. So this column store will be the best fit here because using it, we can easily analyze customer trends over time, get product performance and category insights. Also, we can get region-wise customer segmentation and spending details also. So to perform these analytical use cases, we can use column store. AI disclosure. I have used ChatGPT and Gemini to perform this presentation, to generate code and perform this presentation. Primarily, I leveraged ChatGPT and Gemini to understand the NoSQL concepts and data partitioning that I have implemented. So the both AI tools helped me in generating the code for triggers and partitioning. And even though it did generate few code, I faced few issues like handling the foreign keys in partition table, and that required manual fixes. And limitations of using the AI is AI output depends heavily on the prompt that we given. So for example, while partitioning, I just gave in the input of my database schema, the table schema. But then when I ignored the foreign key part, it did not give me the correct output, a correct code, which is readily usable for me. And the reflection here is we can get the best results out of AI when we combine our solid understanding and the underlying concepts with AI. When we know how to leverage AI and how to integrate our knowledge with the AI's output. So this is my reflection, and thank you. I hope you like my presentation.